that's in large part because of that phrase, to boldly go where no one has gone before. And yes, I updated the language. The phrase that captures that is a phrase that captures our minds and our hearts. Because we dream of exploration. We imagine ourselves going to new, unknown places to make new discoveries. We dream of going and doing and exploring, and that dream is still very much alive in the human spirit. We like the idea of going to new places and exploring the unknown really a lot in theory. That is until we actually have to take that first step into the unknown. Because stepping off into the unknown is both exciting and terrifying. Stepping off into the unknown with absolutely no idea where we're going, how we're going to get there, and what we will find when we arrive, well, that may be exciting, but it's mostly frightening. Yet stepping into the unknown is exactly what true adventurers and explorers do. I mean, the astronauts from Mercury to Gemini to Apollo, Christopher Columbus, Ferdinand Magellan, Dr. Christian Barnard, Bishop Marjorie Matthews, who was the first female bishop in Christendom, and Amelia Earhart, all took big steps into the unknown. They all believed in the mission of Star Trek before Star Trek came to be. They boldly went where no one had gone before. And they were able to step off into the unknown because they had faith. They had faith in their abilities, they had faith in those who supported them, and they had faith in that something greater than themselves that they believed would care for them no matter what happened. Now, the book of Hebrews invites readers to take a journey into the unknown. And the journey in the book of Hebrews is both physical and spiritual. Because while the people in Hebrews reached their physical destination, they never quite got to the spiritual destination. Each explorer reached the land that God had promised them, but the kingdom of God on earth, that was never quite realized. And the passage we're looking at this morning is about Abraham and Sarah. In the book of Genesis, in the 12th chapter, God speaks to Abraham, at that time called Abram, telling him to travel from his very comfortable life in the land of Ur to a totally unknown place. God told Abraham that he should go there to be the founder of a great nation, that God would bless him with more descendants than stars in the sky, and that he and his descendants would be a blessing to all the people of the world. Now, that's the first time in recorded human history that the God we know as the God of Jesus our Christ talked to a human being. Now, and the first time that the human being actually listened. God may have talked to other human beings before Abraham, but they didn't listen, so it didn't count. Which means that Abraham had absolutely no history that allowed him to have any faith in this God. Abraham had no experience with a God who talked to him. I mean, Abraham had no experience with a God that offered blessings. Abraham's experience was with worshiping idols. And the goal of worshiping idols was to keep that God of the idol from harming him and his family. A talking God that made great promises of faith and blessings, that was totally brand new to Abraham and to everybody else. Even so, by faith, Abraham did exactly what God asked him to do. He picked up lock, stock, and barrel and moved to a completely unknown place. He and his wife Sarah were unable to have children until God worked a miracle. And then one child, a son, was born in spite of their advanced age. Thankfully, they could afford live-in nannies. Let that sink in, it was funny. Now, they both died before their names became great. They both died before they were recognized as blessings to the world. They both died before their descendants became greater in number than the stars in the sky. They both died before anything close to resembling the kingdom of God on earth existed. Still, by faith alone, they traveled into the unknown and they found a new home. Now, my guess is Abraham and Sarah were both smart enough to realize They would not see the fulfillments of God's promises before they died. After all, they weren't all that young when they started their journey into the unknown. They weren't old. 75 isn't old, but they weren't that young. They were smart enough to do the math and realize that there was no way they would live to see descendants greater than the stars in the sky. They were smart enough to realize that being new people in a new place might not be seen as a blessing to those who already lived there. They knew that they would be regarded as interlopers and strangers and people not to be trusted. Yet, they had faith in this God that talked to them. They had faith in this God that called them by name. They had faith in this God who walked with them, who helped them solve problems, and who worked miracles in their lives every single day. They had faith. So they stepped off into the unknown boldly, with little but faith to sustain them. Now, I love the tagline of the United Church of Christ. God still talks, because I believe God talks to us every single day. I believe that God knows us and calls each of us by name. I believe that God still walks with us, that God helps us to solve problems, and I believe that God works miracles in our lives every single day. We've just forgotten what they look like. Show you a miracle right now. Where's my inhaler? All the dust. 100 years ago, right now, I'd be in the hospital with an asthma attack. This is a miracle. This is a miracle. This, to me, is a God-given miracle. Just think of all the miracles that God works in our lives every single day. We've just learned to think of them as science, but God is a God of science. God works miracles in our lives every single day. And I believe that God still asks each believer to boldly go where we have not gone before. I believe that God still asks us to help build the kingdom of God on earth. Now, as a congregation, we have begun a journey into the unknown. We've decided to engage in a building renovation and expansion. And if we've not experienced construction in our own homes, we know somebody who has, which means we know exactly what kind of an adventure building projects can be. We've heard the horror stories about all the things that went wrong for either ourselves, most likely somebody else. And we've lived through our own messes, our own adventures, our own horror stories, and our own success stories. Yet we as a congregation are beginning this journey in faith. Now hopefully we're all going to live to see the completion of the construction as well as the burning of the mortgage. Hopefully, we will all live to see the blessings that this completed project brings to our lives and the lives of everyone in our communities. And even if we suspect we won't see the next years, decades worth of blessings, we're still taking that step into the unknown with faith in God and faith in our own preparations. And we're stepping into this journey as prepared as we know how to be. We're stepping off into this journey with excitement because we have faith in God. We're stepping off into this journey with faith in a God that walks with us, helps us solve problems, and works miracles every single day. We're stepping into this journey knowing that we will see the end of the physical journey. The spiritual journey of helping our communities grow closer to God, well, may take a little longer. And we may not live to see the kingdom of God on earth, but we will have taken steps in the journey. So we've begun that journey into the unknown as a congregation. But the book of Hebrews really asks each of us another question as well. And that question is, what journey into the unknown is God asking each of us to take today? Where is God asking us to have the faith to take that first step into the unknown in our lives? What is God talking to us about? What idea has come to our heads that simply won't go away? What has a friend said to us, and then another friend said to us, and then another friend said to us, and then another friend said to us, which is God talking to us? What thought has come into our hearts? What feeling? Because that's God talking to us. inviting to us to take a journey of faith into the unknown. What have we done to prepare our bodies and our souls to say yes? And I ask that because God invites each of us to take steps into the unknown. Whether we feel ready or not, we can say yes because we have a faith in a God who talks with us, a God who knows our name, a God who walks with us, a God who helps us solve problems, and a God who works miracles in our lives every day. It is possible that today God is asking each one of us to boldly go where no one has gone before. It's possible that God is asking each of us to boldly journey into what is an unknown for us. And we can say yes, wherever God is calling us to go. We can take that first step, trusting that God is going to walk with us into the unknown. And when we do that, we'll be doing our part to help build the kingdom of God on earth. The unknown, the final frontier. Our mission, to help build the kingdom of God on earth. To boldly go where God is calling us to be. Amen.